Hello everyone, CS Worked here, and in front of me are 3 instant Nether transporters. I do need to put a disclaimer now, this is only for Java Edition, Bedrock does not have this technology yet. So without further ado, let me go ahead and demonstrate them. Switching over to survival mode, here's the first one, here's the second one, and lastly here's the third one as soon as I run over here. So, all of them are pretty quick, and you might be thinking, what just happened? So, starting with the first one, it's very simple. I just have a pearl dispenser, and I'm holding the throw button as I walk over the pressure plate, so the moment I pick up the pearl, I immediately throw it. And yeah, it's just 2 droppers stacked on top of one another, a hopper feeding in pearls from this chest here. Now, this is the first downside, is you will need to occasionally refill this with more pearls, but because you have 9 stacks plus 5 stacks plus 27 stacks, that's like 650 pearls because they're stacked at 16, so it'll be quite a while before you actually need to run out and refill it. The other problem is if you're not aiming down or have a backstop and you throw the pearl, well, you might just end up in some lava, and that's not what we want. The other problem with this is if you do not have an open hand when you pick up the pearl, well, you're not going to be able to throw it immediately. So there are a few caveats to using this design, but overall it is pretty straightforward. The second one uses a minecart where the player is riding it, and as soon as they hop in, they're in this string hitbox, so the observer detects it, sends a pulse, and this repeater is set to the 3rd delay, so that there's enough power time for the powered rail to push the minecart all the way through. And then on the receiving side, we have a powered rail to keep pushing the player along, going into an activator rail to automatically kick the player off, then another powered rail to bounce off and send the minecart back. Now, you can't have the activator rail right immediately after the portal because sometimes the player gets kicked off inside of the block of obsidian there. I don't know exactly why that seems to be the case. There's definitely a bug there, and it was really only happening when I went from the overworld to the netherworld side. But yeah, really straightforward. You can even push the cart through, and we see underneath here that there is scaffolding. And the reason for that is when you go have the activator rail here, for some reason it wants to throw the player off onto the rail there, but if you have scaffolding underneath, it'll throw the player off to the side here. So I'll hop through, and on the other side it is slightly different. I did use a copper bulb instead of a repeater at 2 delay, so this saves us 2 redstone ticks or 4 game ticks, so it's slightly faster to use this setup. However, it is a little bit more expensive with resources. And for the third design, this is a completely hidden flush base design, a hipster if you will, where we have a comparator reading a crafter at a signal strength of 6 for a skulk sensor to detect that. Now this is a calibrated skulk sensor so that it only detects that signal strength. And if we look at the wiki here, we see that this applies to just mounting and interacting with entities. So as long as you're not breeding animals or putting armor on horses near this, it won't activate it, although it's not even the biggest deal ever. But going back over here, we just take that redstone line, loop it around, go into a target block, and that's able to power the powered rail here. And same thing up top with the 3 rails there and the scaffolding on this side. And then on the overworld side, you can actually waterlog the skulk sensor so that it's completely silent too. And all that took was pushing the skulk sensor out 1 block, and then I just lazily looped the redstone line into the block here. And because I went solid, I didn't need to make that a target block. So, how fast are all of these? Well, I will do a tick freeze. Tick freeze. From the moment I hop into this minecart, if I do a tick step for 1 tick, we see it's 1, 2, and I'm through. For this one here on the nether side, from the moment I hop in, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm through. And from the overworld side, because we have an additional 4 ticks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm through. And lastly, for the pearl, I guess I have to manually go through it this way. Lastly, for the pearl, from the moment I step on the pressure plate, it'll be 4 ticks before I pick up the item. And then from the time I throw it, it'll be about 2 or 3 ticks, depending on where you're standing. So we have 7 ticks, 6 or 7 ticks for the pearl design, 4 ticks for the faster minecart design, 8 ticks for the slower minecart design, and 2 ticks for the hidden design. Now, obviously, this is the much better one, if everything is hidden and it's the fastest, but then again, all of them take less than half a second to do. There is one downside, and you might be seeing it right now, that is the minecart is not here. That's because every time you go through a portal, it will send the other one back. For some reason, there's a bug where riding through a portal, the skulk sensor detects you like remounting, I guess, and so it will send the other one back as well. And you can see that here. Yeah. So that's 2 bugs I found in this video, but none of them are even that significant, except for, being trapped inside of an obsidian block. Anyway, if whichever one you want to build, that's completely up to you. But that's all I have for today, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.